Many thanks for choosing us. We start from Parliament, where many are awaiting for a discussion to bring closure to the contention on the 2022 budget. The minority has been making some demands, including the removal of the e-levy from the 2022 budget before it is approved. It shut it down on Friday, but the majority says it's been unconstitutionally rejected. We're waiting that debate to ensue in Parliament this afternoon. My colleague Parker Wilson is monitoring events for us. He joins us live from Parliament. Parker, what's happening in Parliament right now?
Aisha, so proceedings is yet to begin. In fact, we are told that just about 15 minutes, the Speaker will enter the chamber and the proceedings for today will commence. I see a number of the NPP MPs and NDC MPs walking into the chamber. Now, Aisha, let me tell you that since morning, there has been a closed-door meeting between the minority members and the majority members. In fact, it was a joint caucus meeting. It was pruned down to the leadership of the meeting. So as I speak to you, the leadership have concluded their meeting. I have seen the majority chief whip of the NPP, Frank Anadompre, in the chamber, an indication that the meeting has ended. But as to whether the meeting, there was a consensus or an agreement, well, that is yet to be established, because we do understand, and from my source within the meeting, is that there seems to be a stalemate. There's no headway going forward, because the NDC is still insisting that the e-levy should be taken out of the budget. And the NPP says they are in government, they have a policy, they know they have a way of governing the country, and as part of the ways to govern the country, the e-levy is a critical factor in raising revenue going forward. And so they are not going to abolish the e-levy. That has been a major controversy in the meeting, and we are told that that has forced the leadership of the both caucuses to come to an end with this meeting, and then, of course, move to the chamber where they will now face off. And I must tell you that the NPP is still clear in their minds that the budget hasn't been rejected, whilst the NDC believes the budget has been rejected. I have with me the Member of Parliament for Techiman South constituency, Martin Ejemi Sakosa. He wasn't in the meeting though, but of course he is a minister, and as the budget delays, it's going to affect his ministry because he's the Deputy Minister for Local Government. Sir, thank you very much for your time this afternoon, and you're live on pause on JoyNews. Now,
thanks for having me.
I am a bit curious. Since last Friday, there's been a number of commentary over the rejection of the budget. You are going into the chamber. Proceedings is just about to start about 10-15 minutes away from now. What are your expectations going into the chamber? Because I hear the meeting between the leadership perhaps did not really achieve the needed results.
Well, you are using the word rejected, and I don't know how you come to that conclusion. Of course, the majority side is advanced the argument that makes that an impossibility. The Constitution prescribes a formula in arriving at a single majority in the House. And so, based on that argument, we do not believe that the budget has been rejected. It's a purported action that, per our calculation and understanding, in the face of the law, cannot stand. And so that, for me, is yet another matter that will be determined. But yes, you rightly echoed my position or my thoughts. We believe that the matter is not concluded. The finance minister had sought leave of the House on Friday to engage. After the debates, various views and opinions came up. And in enriching the document, you need broader consensus. You need to pick on the ideas of everybody. We, in principle, as a majority, still stand by that the ideas that have been expressed, provided they are good and would enhance or enrich the document, must be brought on board. That is the spirit and principle that is guiding the discussions that are going on today. And that to tell you that the matter cannot have been concluded by way of either a rejection or what have you.
And that position has been being resisted by
that's the view.
But which is making the entire meeting not achieve.
I'm saying that whatever action that has happened on the floor, there is a legal position on that. And so whatever the law says or what the legal position should be, we very much will go to that pretty soon. But we believe that the matter is yet to be concluded, and we are still guided by that spirit of bringing everybody on board. And that is why there's been some engagement going on today. The positions that have been reached out of those meetings, I'm not able to provide that. Leadership will apprise us of those decisions. But of course, we do know that there's an opportunity today for us to approve the budget. Continue off from where...
Opportunity for you to approve the budget?
For the House, Parliament, to approve this budget, which couldn't be done last week Friday because of the obvious issues. And so let's see how it happens in there. But I believe by the close of today, we should have our way clear on the way we proceed.
So I just want to be clear in my mind. So the NPP is walking into the chamber with the position that they are going to reverse the Speaker's ruling, affirming the rejection of the budget last Friday.
Let's get there and see what happens. The position of the majority is that it has not been rejected. And so when we get there, the law will be put to test, and then we'll see when the various arguments have been advanced, we'll see the way to go with this matter.
Well, those who have said that, why don't you accept the views of the NDC, amend the budget, submit it to the House for approval, because you need the country to govern.
You would realize that the finance minister's request in wanting to engage is exactly what you are echoing. If anybody says that there's a need to pick on the concerns of the minority, that is in order. We agree to that. And that is the very reason why the finance minister has sought to engage and pick the views on both sides. So we are not against picking or agreeing or come to some consensus with the various sides. No. And the finance minister indicated that. That is the process that is continuing today. And so let's see how it unfolds.
But in your view, if there is anything that you need to take away from the budget, what would it be? Because the NDC is clear, Ejapa is a no, e-levy is a no. You have to make provision for the construction of the Keta Sea Defense Project. In your view, I mean, as
I do know when they met, some deliberations is reached some conclusions. I'm unable to put that here because I'm not part of leadership and I do not sit in those meetings. But clearly, there's been some understanding at some areas. But I'm saying that that process is what is going to continue. After the debates on where we've not been able to reach a consensus, we find the fine lines, and then we can proceed from there.
I've heard the NDC say that there's going to be fireworks today in the chamber. And some of your colleagues,
Parliament,
and some of your colleagues too as well. I mean, Katie Hammond, action will be in the chamber today.
Well, I'm not privy to that. But
well, I spoke to him live on
Parliament,
TV.
We talk law. We don't do fire. And so I'll be surprised anybody talks of fireworks. We're going to talk law. We'll battle it out legally, and then we'll see where the chips fall. I'm not sure that it's going to be anything out of this scenario. And so let's see. Let's keep our calm. I believe that at the end of the day, you see, it's important, Parker, that we don't stampede the progress of this country. Government has a clear mandate and a direction of governance. Government is very clear about what it wants to achieve for this country. And it's important that its program is made to move, to achieve for this country what we need. What is happening may seem to suggest that there's an attempt to derail our development and progress. And that is not what anybody will want to be tagged with. At the end of the day, if anybody has any ideas on what they think governance should be, when you get the opportunity, you can come and push that. But for now, this is an NPP program, NPP government. And they are clear in their mind the direction of governance, where things must go, how to achieve results for this country under their mandate. And it's up to the good people of Ghana to judge for us where the results falls. So let's resist this attempt to want to, as it were, push what we think is our program onto the NPP through such means. It does not help.
Is that what you see being done?
Well, that for me seems to be because to take a hard stance and say, until I get this, that will not happen. Mind you, it is not your government. It is not your program. That is somebody's program. You need to be able to consider...
The program in itself affects the majority of the people.
But I'm saying that somebody has the mandate to govern. The 4 years is for us to do and show the good people of this country what the results are. They will be the ultimate judges at the end of the day. That does not also mean that government would be impervious to reason, would not take on consensus or the views of others in enriching whatever document that we have to. But for one side to take a position and say, no, I disagree with government and mine has to stand, becomes problematic.
I know the bell has been rung, so just a quick minute and then I'll let you go. Finally, you say you want to approve the budget. Today, the argument has been the NPP, do you have sufficient numbers to approve what you say, the budget?
The NPP is the majority side.
Do you have the sufficient
exercises?
numbers? Last Friday, you didn't have the numbers. I can tell.
No, why do you say that?
The member of parliament for Kwabenya constituency was not in the chamber. I can report saying.
Not everybody was in the chamber. The matter had not been put to vote. When voting is about to happen, members come. People remain in their offices for good reasons. People go to the washrooms. People do all kinds of activities around here. The fact that you do a count and Martin is not sitting in his seat, does not mean that I'm not within the precincts of Parliament. Once I'm recorded and the invitations come, we all gather. As far as I'm concerned, last Friday, everybody was set. There was an issue where the finance minister, whose program or budget was being debated upon, was asked to leave. And there was another person whose presence the majority thought was also not proper. That led to a situation we could not conclude matters, much as it was. But I don't think that anybody can firm up and say the NPP didn't have the numbers or the majority didn't have.
So today you have the numbers?
We've always had the numbers. When it has to come to doing business in the House with such nature, we've always had the numbers. Just as Friday, so it is today. And I believe that we'll be able to do what has to be done for Mother Ghana.
Thank you very much. Martin Sakosa is the Member of Parliament for Techiman South constituency and, of course, the Deputy Local Government Minister. Aisha, you heard the bell being rung. The bell has been rung. What it means is that they are calling on MPs to come to the chamber so that Parliament can kickstart proceedings of the day. It appears that the NPP is still going into today's sitting with the mindset and the mentality that what happened last week, Friday, was unconstitutional, and then they are determining their quest to reverse the Speaker's decision. Well, the NDC has served notice that that will not happen. Well, we await the outcome of the decision and the consensus that we are told that is being built amongst these MPs. Until then, we cannot say for a fact whether the 2022 budget has been rejected or is not rejected. But what stands at the moment is that the NPP, of course, I see the members of parliament from the NPP going into the chamber now. Farouk Ali Mahama just entering the chamber together with about 6 other NPP MPs. So very soon, parliament will kickstart, and then the big conversation for the day, that is the budget, will be tabled before the House for consideration. We'll get to know whether it's been rejected or it would be approved, Aisha.
Earlier, we're told that the finance minister had a meeting with the minority leadership. What was the outcome of that meeting? Do you know?
Well, so the meeting, Aisha, we are told that there was a bit of misunderstanding. There was no headway because the two parties had taken an entrenched position. Some of the demands from the NDC were told that the government was willing to concede, and that they agreed that, of course, they're going to review it. But the biggest challenge for the NDC is the electronic levy, that is the Momo tax. And that, we are learning that government doesn't want to budge. Government does not want to look at the electronic levy, expunge it from the 2022 budget. And that has been the point of disagreement. That has been the point of misunderstanding between the two caucus. And so, it triggered some level of, well, if you don't want to understand, let's call off the meeting. Let's move the conversation to the chamber where Ghanaians will know our position from the NPP and the NDC. So with the meeting, we cannot say for a fact whether indeed the consensus that they were expecting was built. But right now we know that there was some level of disagreement just because of the introduction of the electronic levy, which is the e-momo, and of course the NDC wanted taken out of the budget, but the NPP insists that it has to be in the budget because it is part of their revenue mobilization measures to show up revenue and also to accelerate and facilitate the various developmental projects that the government wants to execute for the year 2020. So in the chamber, we'll get to know the position, the clear position of the NPP and the NDC as well. I've seen the Honorable Member of Parliament for Ofonsi Ahirebi, Kojo Pankoma, who is also the information minister. Of course, he's getting his way into the chamber very soon, and Parliament would kickstart. So, Aisha, let's hold our horses for now. We will bring to our viewers all the updates when Parliament kickstart the proceedings for today. I must say that proceedings for the day was advertised at 10 a.m. As we speak, it's just about over 3 something. And yet, Parliament is just to kickstart with the proceedings for today. So this is the information we are picking up, and the position is clear.
Parker, before now, there's been the conversation about whether we would be having the full complement of the House for this debate. Who will be chairing, whether the Deputy First Speaker would be having a vote or not. But how is it looking like for both sides? In the event of a head count vote, are we going to have the full complement of the House? Of course, we know the Speaker is out of town.
Right, Asha, so the standing orders is very clear on if a member of Parliament is chairing. Whoever chairs the meeting is obviously does not have a vote. And it's clear in the standing orders that the Speaker of Parliament doesn't have a vote. And so well, I was trying to get Honorable Kojo Pankoma, but then he's declined to that. So Aisha, let me move on. So if you're a member of Parliament, you do not have a voting right when a decision has to be taken in Parliament. And so now that we know that the substantive Speaker, who is Alban Barbin, is out of the jurisdiction, the standing order says the available Speaker. So if the available Speaker are the 2 deputies, that is the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament and the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament, in order of seniority, automatically the seat falls on the lap of the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, who is Jose Usu. So by extension, he will be the one to chair today's meeting. And so if he indeed does chair today's meeting, what it means is that Mr. Jose Usu would not have a voting right in taking a decision. And that prunes or cuts down the numerical strength of the NPP in Parliament. Well, the NPP, I must say, have engaged the MPs, and they strongly disagree with that. They have said that when the time comes for a decision to be made and for the MPs to vote, we will see what happens. I don't know what is going to happen. I don't know why they are saying that, but they are firm in their minds that they have the numbers. They are still 138, and if they should subject any motion to a vote, the NPP caucus will emerge victor of that particular motion. So they are very confident that going into this meeting today, they would have the numbers to push through with the agenda and for the reversal of the Speaker's position and subsequently the approval of the 2022 budget.
Parker Wilson, who is in Parliament monitoring events for us. As you may hear, there's the bell ringing and calling MPs to come to the chamber for business of the House. This is something we are monitoring for you. You need to stick and stay on the JoyNews channel because we have all the sights and sounds for you as it unfolds in Parliament. Let's move now to the Northeast region because the community of Lukula remains deserted days after renewed land and chieftaincy conflict between the Konjas and Mamprussis forced scores of residents, including women and children, to flee into bushes. The Regional Security Council has since deployed police and military teams to prevent violence, but many of the residents have refused to return to the area, fearing a possible fight between the 2 factions.
Yesterday at about 11 a.m., a deployment of police and military were sent to the area to try to get the armed warriors out of the town. And I think that was done. So calm has actually been restored and people are free to go about their daily activities without any let or hindrance.
The minister has therefore appealed to the youths of both sides to stand down and allow the chiefs to deal with the situation.
Our common enemy in the north is poverty, and that is what we should fight. Issues about land are matters that fall within the purview of chief. And so for me, what I would say is that If there's any problem that has to do with land or chieftaincy, let's allow the traditional authorities to handle that. So I just want to call on everybody, particularly the youth, that we should give peace a chance.
The Gonja and Mamprusi tribal factions have been fighting over Lukula and several other communities for over 3 decades now, with each claiming the communities as part of their territories. And although the two factions have never fought directly over the dispute, sporadic clashes have persisted since 2018 after a failed attempt by the Mamprusis living in the area to join the Northeast region during the creation of the new regions. The residents who protested to join the Northeast region had cited social, political, and economic deprivations. Speaking to Joy News, the Mamprusi Paramount Chief of Janga, Sona Abanantokma Seidu, accused the Savannah Regional Minister of distorting the fact of what led to Saturday's tension in the community.
The Savannah Regional Minister said that there are Fulani ethnic groups from the land, and Sonaba is disturbing them, collecting cows from them. And it's lie. It's a hypocrite. I don't know the reason why Akufo-Addo have wasted his time to pick this man as a regional minister. We need the justice people to rule a place. Somebody who will tell you the facts so that you know what you do your job. He create a lie like that.
The chief also blamed the defunct Commission of Inquiry for the creation of new regions, as well as the British colonial masters for the prolonged dispute between his traditional area and Daboya.
We and Gonjas have never fought because of a land. You understand me? Only the land body sharing, let us, we and them are fighting. And it was British. They come to do. You know, British, they are thieves. British are thieves. If I were to be a head of state, I would have let British people to know that they are thieves. They come and spoil this our country and bring their wrong education to come and pollute our mind. And our politicians and our president don't know their left and right. And they come to take our resources to go and develop their place and let us suffer.
The chief has therefore appealed to government authorities and the National Security Secretariat to find a lasting solution to the dispute, whilst warning Gonjas to stop provoking Mamprusis and never to step foot anywhere in the disputed territory.
If government didn't come there, and we heard they came there with lies again, not Lukula that will fight, we'll face the boy direct. I want them to know today, as I'm saying it, they are liars. They are human vultures. Any place they saw there is a food, they will land there, telling lies. That was in Peura is a liar. He's my colleague. He is not telling his people the right thing. Not Janga alone will get up and fight them. All Mamprugu will come to face them so that there will be peace that place. When they beat us, they should take the place. When we beat them, even the boys will take it.
Ilyas Sutanko reporting.
Let's get more from our regional correspondent, Ilyas Sutanko, who joins me with more. Ilyas, so let's look at what is happening to the residents. Are they still hiding in the bushes? Ilyasu?
Hello, Aisha, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. So I'm asking whether the residents who found their way into the bushes, whether they're still there or they're coming back.
Well, our information is that these women and children have started coming back to the Lukula community, largely because of the presence of the security in that area. What we are learning is that these people had run into the bushes, and some of them had actually run to neighboring communities to stay with their family and friends. But with the continuous presence of the security in that area, we are learning from since morning that the people have been coming back to their community.
Now, what is the situation on the ground right now? We've heard the chiefs blaming each other. What's the situation right now?
Well, since Saturday, when the armed men invaded this particular community, held the community hostage for several hours before security forces went in there to break this particular siege, there have been conflicting reports or explanation to this particular latest tension in that area. According to the Mamprisis, and you heard the chief of Janga, who is the paramount chief of the So traditional area, he's saying that the Saturday's tension was as a result of the presence of the armed men in that particular community. He claimed that these armed men were brought in by the paramount chief or the Gonja paramount chief of Daboya to accompany a rival chief that he had enskined to stay in that particular community. But according to the Gonjas or the Gonja side, what they are saying is that they got the report from that particular community that the chief of Janga were forcing some Fulanis to take royalties from them. And because they feel that it is not part of his territory, he has no right to take royalties from these Fulanis. And that is why, that was why these armed men invaded this particular community. So these are conflicting reports that we are getting from these two parties. But I must say that this community, these two parties have been fighting over these communities for 3 decades now. The latest tension sparked after the creation of the new regions. Largely what is happening is that these particular community and several others administratively are within the North Gonja district of the Savannah region. But most people in this area are occupied, or most of them are Mamprisis. And so these Mamprisi traditional area, which is the Sioux traditional area, are claiming these particular communities are as part of theirs. And the Gonjas are also saying that these particular communities are also ours. And so during the creation of the region, the Mamprisis in that area had protested severally, saying that they wanted to join the Northeast region. The Gonjas resisted strongly to this. There were clashes in 2019, and the Gonjas did not allow this particular breakaway. And so since then, there have been sporadic tension in that particular area.
Elias Tanko is our man from the Northeast region with updates on what is happening there. But there's enough security there, right, Eliasu?
Yes, from what we are learning, according to the Northeast Regional Security Council that spoke to me on this particular matter, the Savannah region, which is closer to this particular area and really whose administration this particular trouble areas fall in, they have sent a lot of security forces in there. And my checks since morning have confirmed that indeed security are around that area, and they are patrolling the community to ensure calm.
Elias Tanko is our man from the Northeast region. He's been updating us on that conflict between two factions there. Now, the Ghana Grid Company Limited and the Electricity Company of Ghana says it will be difficult to issue a load shedding timetable in the wake of recent unstable power in Kumasi. It comes after consumers demanded a timetable to help plan and avert losses in their businesses. Power consumers in Greater Kumasi therefore will have to endure what has become as known as Dumso every evening until December 20. This was revealed at a joint press conference by the Energy Ministry, power producers and distributing agencies in Kumasi. Director for Northern Network Services, Vincent Boache, spoke to the media.
The joint press conference held in Kumasi constituted officials from Gridco, VRA, ECG, and the Energy Ministry. Director for Northern Network Services for Gridco, Engineer Vincent Boache, spoke to the media. Explained it will be difficult for a load shedding timetable to be issued.
Until the evening and looking at the voltage, Gridco system control doesn't know how much we need to, how much load relief we need in Kumasi. And it's when they tell ECG that ECG will be able to know, oh, today maybe there will be no load relief, or there will be 10 megawatt or 20 megawatt. So ECG, I don't think can give a timetable. If they give a timetable, in the end, your factory or you can't even plan with it, because it's either the light will come on or not. So
meanwhile, the Energy Ministry says it is collaborating with its agencies to establish a power generation enclave in Kumasi to improve power supply.
One of them is the installation of a voltage correction equipment at the Kumasi substation. This one is being financed by the German government through Siemens, and that one, and also a third bulk supply point in Ashanti, which will be located in the offensive area, will all help to improve supply and voltage in Kumasi and beyond. Ghanaians, especially customers in Asante Man, should be rest assured that once this is resolved and the other projects come online, we'll have stable and reliable power.
Chief Director at the Energy Ministry, Lawrence Apalsi, have been apologizing for the inconveniences caused.
Problems in Kumasi as far as power stability is concerned has been an issue that this minister, as soon as he stepped in, the Minister of Energy, he put it on the drawing board, put it before the technical men, put it before all the directors and all our agencies in the power sector. What can we do to ensure that the power stability is restored? Because in the past, we relied on BUI. At the time the minister came into the ministry, BUI was disappointing, not by itself, but by nature. BUI was no more able to sustain the supply that we needed to boost the Asante and the northern sectors.
This means that consumers in Greater Kumasi will have to endure the doomsday till December 20, when repair works on the damaged transmission lines are expected to be completed. Prince Apia reporting.
We're still live on The Pulse, and we're on all our social media handles. It's on JoyNews on TV. You can tweet at us with the hashtag The Pulse. My personal handle is at Nana Aisha. Let's talk more about legal education, because President Akufo-Addo says he disagrees with suggestions that the Chief Justice and other Supreme Court justices be removed from the General Legal Council. Speaking at the International Conference on the Future of Legal Education in Ghana and Africa, organized by the University of Ghana School of Law, the president called for the fast-tracking of a new bill prepared by the Attorney General to reform legal education and practice.
There's been a lot of talk recently about reforming education and practice of law in the country. Evidently, there is a split in opinion on how to go about this. Through a private member's bill, some MPs have proposed the removal of the Chief Justice and other Supreme Court justices from the General Legal Council. But President Akufo-Addo is against that. He believes the justices play an important role on the council and must be maintained. The president maintains the General Legal Council must have the final say with the proposed amendments to the Legal Professions Act.
I believe that even if the new Legal Professions Act, which is under consideration, provides for a multiplicity of law schools to regulate the teaching of the professional examinations and break the monopoly of the General Legal Council in that regard, there can be no substitute for the General Legal Council being responsible for the maintenance of standards in the new system. A reform of the system under which legal education currently operates is necessary to accommodate our current realities. The system we come up with will have to be guided by a strong element of sustainability. Sustainable legal education will have as its base the establishment of a regime that will consider the pressing needs of the growing law student population and the expected demands of the generation unborn that will study law. It will be qualitative in its operation, but with a fair and balanced quantitative selection system.
The president also tasked the Attorney General to fast-track processes to present the bill before Parliament for passage into law.
I've already asked the Attorney General to fast-track the process of consultations on the new legal professional bill and lay it before Cabinet and ultimately Parliament as soon as possible. This bill aims to address comprehensively the issues of legal education in Ghana today. I have to restate my conviction that the General Legal Counsel must have the final say.
Also at this event was Minister for Justice and Attorney General Godfred Yeboah Dame, who says extensive consultation will be done before the draft bill goes to Parliament.
Mr. President, the destiny of the nation is at stake. A lot of honesty, good faith, and dispassionate introspection is required for this conference to achieve what I term the twin objective of broadening access to legal education whilst preserving the integrity and quality of the profession. I place emphasis on good faith because in recent times, the discussions bordering on the theme chosen for this conference has been characterized by a lot of politicking and petty point scoring for parochial ends. I will share with you a practical example. To my utter surprise and consternation, I saw a document being spread around social media and the mass media as the Attorney General's legal profession bill. With unrestrained haste, various persons of high standing in society, including professors and senior lawyers, rushed to the media to make all manner of comments, virtually casting aspersions at the integrity of the Office of the Attorney General for coming up with such a bill.
The General Legal Counsel says it will not receive any more proposals for legal education reform after January 2022. The Council is currently receiving inputs into the controversial bill. Member of the Council and Supreme Court Justice Jones Doche has been speaking at the Legal Education Conference at the University of Ghana.
Over the years, the General Legal Counsel has collaborated with the National Accreditation Board, now Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, on a monitoring and evaluation exercise of the various accredited faculties, and we have published our findings. On the back of these findings, plans have commenced to review the development of curricula, methods of instruction, and admission criteria to the various faculties. The institutions offering the LLB program will also undergo more rigorous processes before they are approved. The criteria for assessment of these institutions will include the types of programs, the qualifications of academic staff, student-teacher ratios, library holdings, physical facilities, amongst others. Once issues of quality assurance are out of the way, it is expected that properly equipped faculties will be accredited to provide professional training and education, a step that will reduce the burden on the Ghana School of Law and consequently increase access to professional legal education. Quality control measures are very important. The General Legal Counsel has also embarked on massive stakeholder consultations towards finding a lasting solution. It is in this regard that I wish to confirm what the AG has said, that in his letter to the General Legal Counsel, he asked the Council to undertake broad stakeholder consultations that will lead eventually to the presentation of a bill to Parliament. So I was also really surprised to have heard in the media last week that a bill has been presented to Parliament on legal education. That is not the case at all. In fact, the General Legal Counsel has given the Bar Association and other stakeholders up to the end of January to hold the necessary stakeholder consultations and report to the Council for a decision to be made.
Let's broaden the conversation and speak with Kwekwansa Asare, who is former director of the Ghana School of Law. He joins us via phone. Hassan Asare is president of the National Association of Law Students, and Clara Berry Kasati, who is a law lecturer at GIMPA and also a private legal practitioner, joins us via Zoom. I'm grateful for your time, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start with you, Ms. Ansa Asare. First, I want to gauge your mood on this one. There have been calls for the Chief Justice and other Supreme Court justices to be removed from the General Legal Counsel as part of the reforms we're looking for. The President says he disagrees. What ideally should be the situation?
Thank you very much. I think that in the first place, the President's suggestion that we need a legal profession now that we fit for purpose is quite significant. There's a great deal of merit in that suggestion because from what he said, he knew very well that the university will be quality lawyers. Nobody will come blame him for that. But I disagree with him that the General Legal Council has presently composed should remain intact. Now, I find that suggestion and his view that the act was enacted when his own father was a lawyer some 60 years ago. So that is a contradiction in itself. Now, first of all, the president must understand that the Legal Profession Act 1960 Act 33 was enacted under the 1960 Constitution. The 1960 Constitution had a philosophy which is not the same as the 1992 Constitution. The two are not the same. And therefore, in looking at the roadmap or devising a roadmap for reform, the first obstacle that should be looked at is the character of the General Legal Council. The General Legal Council, as it is composed at the moment, is limited to the interest of any progressive legal education. I say so because the council since 1950 has become a battlefield for the president and members of the legal profession, that's mainly the Ghana Bar Association. Now, if the president, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa will recall, in 1960, when the Legal Profession Act was passed, Kwame Nkrumah had some problems with the then director of legal education, Professor J.H. Lang. And when Professor Lang was removed in 1962, and Professor W.B. Hardy was appointed, he didn't have much to do with the suggested reform. And President Nkrumah proposed the appointment of Professor A.C. Kuma to replace W.B. Harvey. Now, the bar opposed that appointment, and therefore, Professor Dr. Daniel had to be called from Tanganyika in 1964 to come and become Deputy Attorney General with responsibility for legal education. So we've had that pendulum swinging, forward and backwards since 1960. So if there should be any meaningful reform, the first entity that ought to be directly affected is the General Legal Council. We cannot have a situation where a Chief Justice, who is Chief Justice of the Republic, is also the chairman of the General Legal Council. The Attorney General, who also doubles as the Minister for Justice, with responsibility for oversight responsibility for General Legal Council, both plus 4 justices of the Supreme Court, constituting, among others, members of the General Legal Council. And whenever there's a problem, they discuss it at the board, place it before the General Legal Council, and then if there is litigation, it goes before the same body. So it would be prudent for the General Legal Council, the composition of the General Legal Council, to be reviewed so that the Chief Justice, the 4 justices of the Supreme Court, and the Attorney General are excluded. And they can still, be members by institutional representation. So the Judicial Council can have a nominee, the Ministry of Justice can have a nominee, or the Attorney General can have a representative. Nobody, will find fault or, quibble at that. But where you are just judge in your own court. It doesn't make sense. And we cannot, as it were, spend all our time and resources debating this and, the Chief Justice, the Attorney General, the President kicking against it. Now, if the President calls for reform, he's urging, very radical reform or overhaul. And at the same time, has taken an entrenched position that certain areas are no-go areas. That is not reform. Then it means that we are going to have a stillborn baby in our hands. So that entrenched position to be discarded. Next, under Article 70, the President may have the final say. So he can still skew the representation if he wants. But then presidents go and presidents come. So he cannot, as it were, decide the fate of the next president or subsequent president. I don't think, that is a step in the right direction. So I agree with him that we need to reform legal education, but the pathway is not what he has suggested. What he has suggested is progressive. That's not progressive at all.
Clara Kola-Berry Kazati, who is also a law lecturer. It's been a long-standing notion that our problem has been that of space. Yesterday, the president admitted that our problem is way beyond brick and mortar. Let me ask you this. I mean, you've been following the back and forth of law students writing exams, not being admitted, meeting 50% threshold, and what have you. What exactly then is our problem if it's not brick and mortar?
Thank you very much, Aisha, and good afternoon to your listeners and your viewers. Just to say that I no longer teach at GIMPA. I teach at the University of Ghana School of Law now. Now, when it comes to the issue of the legal education, let me first congratulate the people of Ghana. I am particularly proud of where we have started from and where we are now, and hope that we will find a solution. I say this because it started with dissatisfaction, rightly so, because the existing system was no longer working for the needs and aspirations of our people. Then there was the citizen attempt as well, the suits by Kwekwa Sari in court, which led to CSOs getting interested and organizing several fora for discussion and a lot more stakeholders getting to engage. And it became a national debate, literally. And now the University of Ghana School of Law is organizing the international conference on the future of legal education with the aim to finding lasting solutions that benefit all of us at the end of the day. And I welcome the statement from the Justice Jones Doche on behalf of the CJ that suggests that there is intention or at least the General Legal Counsel is agreeable to licensing deserving faculties or schools to run the professional course. So this, at least we've come to some general agreement. I have advocated, and so have many people, that the best way is to let legal academic institutions do what academic institutions do, which is provide education, while we have the General Legal Counsel providing some regulation in terms of course, regulating the profession as well as regulating the bar exam. We cannot agree. I think we are all agreed that we need reforms. What we are not agreed on is the only way to achieve reform is where it is only the General Legal Counsel that is running a law school. And then it has to do that through the grant of examinations or interviews or both to get people to just come for education, because that's what going to law school is to go for the professional education. And then when you take the bar exam, it is then that it is decided whether or not the education that you have undergone is sufficient enough for you to go into practice. So when it comes to where we are now, I think it's a good place in the sense that there is the intention to allow schools of law and faculties of law, or at least the demonstrated intention. We hope that this will be upheld and that this will be seen through the laws. Because as the president noted, it is time that we need the reforms. We are only disagreed on how the reforms should be or what should constitute the reforms. But we seem to be getting somewhere. So yes, it has taken us a long time to get to where we have gotten to. But I would say that at least there seems to be at least a compromise in sight. That compromise, I think, if we want to go further as a people, has to hinge on how to ensure that we are able to license academic institutions to be able to provide professional education. And the role of the General Legal Counsel definitely has to change. And when I say the role has to change here, I think that the General Legal Counsel shouldn't be the only one guarding the gates of legal education, but that its role should be on regulating the profession. And then, of course, conducting the bar exam for the call to the bar as well. Once we agree on the role of the General Legal Counsel, it looks like we still have some debate on the role that the General Legal Counsel should play. I think once we get there, we would be in a better position to see the composition of the General Legal Counsel in terms of the role that we imagine for it in this new, at least, hopefully, the new legal education system that we intend to embark on as a nation.
Let me hear from the students who put themselves for this kind of education. Hassan Asari is president of the National Association of Law Students. Hassan, your main concern has not really been suggestions to deal with the problem, but rather our inability to walk the talk. And you are concerned about the talk every year, but which leads to nothing at the end of the day.
Thank you. And let me greet you, listeners. Yes, it's been one of the issues. Now, let me use the 499 as a case in point. So, by the rule, they passed an exam. They have denied access. And the only reason we had is space. Now, that by itself is quite worrisome. Now, I understand the bit about brick and mortar not being the issue because the world has moved forward. You can talk of virtual, you can talk of self-tuition. There are other things that we can look up to or use as a medium to educate. Now, 2020, NBC passed this. I mean, they made a statement. I'm not sure whether it was in the manifesto, and so did NPP do. They talked about expanding legal education. As of today, 1 year and over, we are still talking about legal education. Now, you hear about the fact that they are looking at ways and means to resolve this problem. I respect it. It is good. I like the speeches. It is beautiful. But there is no clear-cut policy or ways of achieving this. Let's assume that the problem is because we don't have lecturers. Let's assume that is the problem. Is there any way we are working towards ensuring that we have lecturers who would be sufficient enough for all the faculties? Now, let's talk about the faculties. They said they are not competent at all. Now, I have always said that place of the student is to learn. If you make institutions available for them to go and learn, yes, they'll go and learn. But accreditation does not come from the student. There are institutions that are supposed to ensure that they meet the standards they set. If you set the standard and they fail, close them. Don't blame it on the student. Ensure that there are provisions for them to meet or requirements for them to meet, after which you can then say this is the yardstick. Now, year in, year out, we come to this same thing, talking about this same thing, trying to say we'll resolve it. The question is when? Because it looks like, yes, the president said that the notion that is some kind of a cult sort of system that's not really exist. But in the end, if at the end of the day you're looking at what is happening right now, looking at how many faculties and how many space we have to exit, then you can obviously say that it looks like you're just trying to micromanage the numbers. But that should not be the case. If I want to go to school, why should somebody stop me just because of, for lack of a better, let's say, even space? I mean, that would not be right at all. So all we are asking for is, yes, and I hear this argument about quality. Quality does not come from the student. There are standards to check the quality of a student. Normally in Ghana, it's exams. If I pass the exam, you pass me, I come out. and you come and talk about quality. That is not a place to determine as a student. There are lecturers who are supposed to ensure that we meet the standard. And when we meet that standard, they can then pass us on to be called to the bar. If you think I meet the standard, they call me. Why do you blame the student? So I think it's neither here or there for them to even say that quality is lacking. It means somebody is not working properly or somebody is not teaching well. So don't blame it on the student, because we are not asking that we are passed just because we want to go to school. If we meet the criteria, pass us. If 5,000 right and 4,999 pass the exam, pass them. However, if 10 also pass, do same. So what we are saying is, let us walk the talk and stop the plenty talk. It doesn't really help in any way to resolve the problem.
Okay.
We all know in Ghana that we need a reform, and it has to happen and happen.
And definitely the president also indicated that the bill really will address comprehensively some of the issues we're talking about. Parliament indeed has promised to fast track it to make sure it becomes a law. Ms. Ansasari, I want to find out from you, what specifically do you want to see in this new law?
What we want to see, some of the things.
So just do that briefly for me. I was directing that to Ansasari actually, but go ahead.
Please.
Go ahead.
He can go on.
Go ahead, Ansasari. Go ahead.
What I want to see, first of all, is that our politicians will stop playing politics with legal education. And the lady speaker said we have been able to strike a compromise. I do not think so. Since 1958, these same problems, we've been tiptoeing around them since 1958, since 20th November 1958. The law school was born in 1958. We are in 2021. There is no law establishing the law school formally. That is the first, problem. Two, if we have reached a compromise, to what extent? Now, the National Law Student Association president said, yes, the president thought about reform. And when? I agree with him. If since 1958, Parliament has not been able to pass a law establishing the law school, what are we talking about? So the only obstacle to our forward march has been the interference of successive executives and legislatures of this country. The only way to resolve the problem is to ensure that that interference is removed. How do we achieve that? We can only achieve that if we have a law school that is established and backed by law, if we have a National Council for Legal Education that will be saddled with the sole responsibility of superintending our legal education. I don't mind if we have a General Legal Council, if it is a name that we are fond with, and therefore we do not want to change. If there shouldn't be any change in the name General Legal Council, no problem. But the composition must be reviewed. And I have suggested time and time again that there is no point in composing a council which will have or which will include the Chief Justice and the Attorney General. Until the two are excluded, there can't be any meaningful forward march. Number three, when you have the president taking sides, we can't reform legal education.
All right, so that was a former director of the Ghana School of Law. I think we dropped the line dropped there, but of course he makes some very critical insights into that. I would have to end this conversation. I thank you so much, Clara Berry Kasati, for joining us. Hassan Asari, who is president of the law students, and Ansar Sari. I'm grateful for your time. We'll have to move to Parliament right now because there is a big conversation happening in Parliament, and we're looking forward to the 2022 budget being approved. Stay tuned in. We're bringing you sights and sounds of all that.